This story is particularly scary to me because it really is a sign that we're going backwards. We're doing
Canadians are crazy.
Canadians are a little bit nuts.
They are off the deep end, like one of the most blue-pilled nations on the planet. Yep. Maybe the most. I had it between them and Australia. Who's more cucked? Canada, you think?
So the National Arts Center in Ottawa was going to do what are called race-controlled performances for a play called Is God Is. If race-controlled performances sounds strikingly similar to something else, it's because it is. It's basically segregated performances during Black History Month. Mm-hmm. This has since been canceled because of backlash. Shocking, I tell you.
Don't you think it's weird that they were calling it Blackout Night?
Yeah.
That it was a special invitation to Black attendees in a show with was an all-Black cast?
Yes.
But they said no one would be turned away. Like, if you're not Black, you wouldn't be explicitly turned away from attending the event, but they would have staff on site, specifically non-Black staff on site, to go up to you if you are not Black.
Yep.
And give you a talking to.
For what? They don't want money?
For intruding upon the space meant for Black attendees, I presume, and pressuring you to leave, but not forcing you to leave.
I'm going to read it right here. So it says, Theater Pass Muriel welcomes everyone who self-identify as Black to attend this performance.
Good news for Rachel.
I self-identify as Black. There you go.
However, if someone self-identifies as a non-Black person and demands to enter the room, a member of our staff will be present to chat with this person. We try our best to have this labor land on a non-Black staff member, and we will have non-Black front of the house leadership or technical and production team members present in the lobby to help de-escalate such situations.
De-escalate?
Dude.
You're the one escalating it. You're going up to somebody for their race and telling them that they don't belong in a certain place.
As far as we know, water fountains are shared by all.
Oh.
I've said this before. I'll say it again. Racists should have to drink from a different water fountain than the rest of us. And these people, they are included in that.
It's so weird.
You should have like segregated society for non-racists and racists.
78% of the money for this theater comes from the government. So
can you read the definition for overcorrection?
Yeah, right. So
they might need to hear it.
I guess the idea here is that it's okay now because back in the day it would have been that they would have done separate shows for both, but now this is like there's only the separate show for members of the Black community, therefore it's better.
Well, it said this method has already been used. It started in 2019 and they've used it in other cities like Toronto, London, and Stratford.
Everybody's doing it.
And
I thought Stratford was Ontario, right? Or Stratford, Ontario?
I believe so,
yeah,
yes.
Okay.
So this has already happened. It was supposedly successful and got no pushback. But this time around, they decided to retract their decision because they were getting backlash about being racist against white people, obviously.
I would like to know.
It's not only racist. I don't even think it's racist against white people. It's racist against Black people.
Who are all the racists that demanded
dehumanizing to
all
everyone.
races be attending?
It's dehumanizing to everyone, and it's a sickening step backwards for our society.
Like looking at this, my first thought wouldn't be like, "Wow, that's racist towards white people." It's like the idea that you can self-identify as Black is so F-wording insulting to an entire race of people that it
So this was the retraction. So Jonathan K. says, update, the Canadian NAC now seems to have given up on its race-controlled February 17th event plan. New press release issued today indicates that a new policy by which all races are welcome at our shows. It's like we went back to the 2010s and in the 90s and the 80s. Holy crap, dude. Like,
this is like when Wakanda Forever was about to come out and you had like activist TikTokers saying that if you're white, you shouldn't go on the opening weekend because you're actively stealing a seat from the Black people who wanted to see Wakanda Forever.
Yep.
As if it's some kind of zero-sum game.
Where
if you buy a ticket, you're actively taking one from somebody else.
And if you didn't go...
Then they would say, yes, you're not supporting a franchise that is representing black superheroes.
Well, it only had the lowest
protagonists
opening
was a
weekend of all
racist.
time because
Oh my God.
white people wouldn't go see it.
Dude, you want to talk about things you're not allowed to have a bad opinion about?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And they even, I think, encouraged white attendees at that like Wakanda Forever opening weekend to stand in front of the door of their local movie theater and stop people from going in if they seemed suspicious.
Yeah.
Literally racially profiling white people as supposed mass shooters.
This
Like
sounds like
literally
something
Dark
white
Knight
TikTokers
or
said, though,
Joker
right?
2019 level fear mongering.
This sounds like something white TikTokers said.
It was a black activist on TikTok that.
But
that
this
we
is
were
a very
talking
white
about,
person
but-
thing to
white
say,
thing,
isn't
yeah.
it? It's a very
It's a
white
very
person
white
thing to
thing,
say.
yeah.
Be like, oh, you shouldn't go to this movie. That's like the most sly racist thing to do. Be
Yeah.
like, I'm a activist. Don't go see this movie if you're not white
Yeah.
or if you're not black. That's like the most
But
clever
in fact,
racism.
start altercations with anyone going in the theater that you deem to be suspicious based on their race. Excuse
That sounds
me?
like a white person thing to say too, like a white liberal thing to say.
It's
Yet it's not.
it's just disheartening.
It is.
It's just really like when like I see a lot of comments very often of people saying like, what the hell is going on in America? Like that's a reasonable question to ask. And granted, this isn't America, but it's North America, right? Like what the hell is going on right now?
Cultural decay.
That we're in such a place. Is it that we as a society have it so good that we're making up our own problems?
I think we're propping up our own problems, which are celebrities, and paying them to make everything
the
worse.
problems make so much
I've-
money. That's the
I've
problem.
heard the hypothesis that if America had a thriving theater culture like maybe the UK does, then celebrities, or would-be celebrities, would have a place to be ghettoized after being the annoying theater kids that no one liked. So if you're like moderately talented and somewhat attractive, but also highly narcissistic and status obsessed, you can just be like placed in the theater world and not bother the rest of us, especially on Twitter.
They also,
But like, I don't even know if that would solve the problem because theater has been fully corrupted as well.
What is the
by
opposite of
these
stigma?
people?
What's the opposite of stigma?
Tolerance,
Glamorize? Like
romanticization.
romanticize it? If we had a thriving theater culture like they do in the UK, maybe the hunger for celebrity would be much more reduced, and it would, you know, like you could have that outlet.
I know
somewhere.
that the UK has a different feeling towards celebrities and like fandom. They're not as hysteric in the presence of
I remember
actors.
Daniel Radcliffe said in an interview one time that he's very glad that he was a British star because he was like, I got to be normal. He's like, people weren't like, oh my God, you're Harry Potter. He was like, oh, hi, Daniel Radcliffe. Like, hey, make sure you study, you know.
And
He's
you
like,
must notice when like traveling between these countries, they're different like celebrity culture.
That's what he said. It's like, I came here for my first interview and they treated me like I was royalty. And he said,
whereas the UK also has
royalty, which is their celebrity, But it's
So
always the
something
same
is
few
gonna be in
people,
that
and
void.
most of them don't actually like them, which is the...
Since 2016, the National Arts Center has received $235 million in taxpayer money. Also, the head of the committee said that the racially controlled performances were a step forward in diversity and inclusion, which is just when words mean nothing
That's
anymore.
so Canadian.
It's so...
Just can't erase the images of Justin Trudeau and blackface from my mind right now.
Words literally mean nothing anymore. Because up is down, left is right, diverse, segregation is inclusion, and none of it matters anymore because we live in a society where these ideas are not allowed to be. We live in a society where we are not allowed to challenge these concepts. And if you do, like, I refuse to be labeled far right for thinking this is a bad idea. Like, seriously, piss off. If you consider challenging the idea of racially segregated performances at a show because it's not racism when we do it isn't like a ridiculous concept. That's insulting to me. It's insulting to you. And it's insulting to all the progress that was made by generations before us to make our society what it was when we peaked seemingly in the 90s. It's disgusting.
Weird, I don't know what the word is, to where like it's a one-way street. like what a racism is. But it's not insulting to. Well, that's insulting to these people, but it's not insulting. It's insulting to people.
This is
all people.
Yeah, but this is being perpetrated by such a small and extremely loud minority of people in the theater world, in the art world, that I'll say it, like, they are compensating for the deficiencies in their personality that make them socially repulsive. Like, I think if you are someone who's experienced being repeatedly ostracized or silenced or belittled or microaggressed against, then maybe look into the possible explanation that you just are kind of a know-it-all, or, you know, people just are rubbed the wrong way by you for some reason.
Maybe it's a you problem.
Maybe it's a you problem, and this is why I think bullying is a good thing, and theater kids traditionally have been the victims of bullying, and, you know, such social contagions get hopefully sifted out from the wheat. You know, wheat gets separated from the chaff. This is what happens unless you go out of your way to stifle that process. I mean, society is very good at sifting itself out.
I just don't know. Like, I know the argument gets made a lot that you can't make the comparison back to, like, why is it that to Hollywood, to the theater nerds, and to all these people, there's only two races? Like, what about a Hispanic only? Like,
well, you know that if a non-black person of color walked into one of these performances, they would not be stopped. Only a white attendee would be stopped and talked to.
But there's more than two cultures in these countries, right? Like, what about Hispanic heritage? What about Asian heritage? What about all of these other places? Why do we only care about black and white here? Is it because slavery is the unique original sin that they get to throw back in our faces? Therefore, it's easier to bludgeon people than it is with guilt over black history than it is over Hispanic history or Asian history.
I mean, in Canada, I don't even know, how they talk about it without the context of a civil war like ours, you know? Like, how is, like, even the conversation about reparations is ramping up again. And I'm just thinking, like, was the Civil War not reparation enough? You know, kind like of, we gave bloodshed over this.
Well, they never talk about all the people that gave their lives for it.
But that's besides the point.
The point is, this stuff is going on, and it's like, it's not just here. It's in colleges. They do racially segregated graduations. Yep. They have racially segregated training seminars for schools and for government staff meetings for people who work for government offices. We are going backwards, and it's like we're the only ones driving towards a cliff saying, hey, there's a freaking cliff there. Maybe we should hit the brakes. And everyone else is in their cars going, what are you talking? What? It's almost like this is the even worse thing earlier about what we were talking about with Disney. Right? Like, you don't realize this stuff is happening at Star Wars Celebration. You don't realize this stuff is happening on Disney programming. And you don't know this stuff is happening in theaters because it's not important to you, but it will expand outwards. It will not just be in theaters. It will not just be in government buildings. Eventually, Starbucks will have their own, we'll have blackout coffee day where you can only get black coffee and where you have to look a certain way to get coffee because they don't want people who look a certain way to have to deal with the white people who look a certain way while drinking their coffee, all in the name of what?
Do you remember in summer of 2020 when you were criticized for buying coffee from Starbucks instead of a black-owned coffee shop?
Yeah.
Like, celebrities actually did performatively support black-owned businesses, like Ariana Grande going around with like a Starbucks-like cup, but with a different brand on it, so that people would know she wasn't supporting Starbucks. Like, she would buy an iced coffee from a black-owned business so that people would repost pictures of her from the paparazzi supporting a black-owned business. Like, And we're the bad people when we say, like, I don't care what your race is. If you sell a good product, I'll buy your product.
There was Adrienne Curry posted something the other day where she's like, as soon as I see female-owned business, I just don't buy from there, because if you have to advertise,
if you're advertising that, then
with your immutable characteristics, you're not selling a superior product.
Yeah,
she's
exactly.
so cool.
Wokeness defined.
Yeah.
So it's just
Advertising your mule.
I'm over this stuff, dude. Like this was a particularly ridiculous example to me, but it's like it's not going anywhere.
And
like,
as if from the pitch about this play, it's like as if anyone was clamoring to get into these shows. Yeah,
aren't
anyway.
they?
So lame.
Aren't you selling the director short on the opportunity to reach more people by doing this? Like you only get so many days of the performance, right? So you're limiting the performance to one day where you could have more people there.
They're gonna start like busing homeless people to the theater so that they'll fill up the seats when white people aren't allowed in.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.